It's another Raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draft Raw Authentic. Yes, I am finally here making another video, and like I said, it's a raw one, so there will be no edits. Now, I told y'all I was going to be making more videos, I was going to get right back into it. And obviously, I made a promise that if I'm going to talk about the draft, I'm going to talk about it from before the draft starts all the way until the next draft. And that means during the season, and we're going to look at some rookies and what they have done and, the progression that they go through throughout their rookie season. Now, I'm not going to literally pinpoint certain rookies, but I'm going to first look at some of the rookies that, should be well known, already notarized. And then we're also going to look at some other rookies that you may not know, some fourth round picks that may have stood out during each week, during each game of the season. So, I looked up on NFL.com, got some stats from every single game, made sure I looked at every single stat to give you the rookie standouts for week one. So let's just get to it. In the Atlanta-Philadelphia game on Thursday night, the two rookies that everybody probably was looking at was Calvin Ridley and Dallas Goedert. Now, I don't want to bash any rookies or anything like that, so I'm going to just put that out there. So, for the rest of the games where there may have not been a rookie standout, I'm not going to go over those games. I'm going to just kind of skip past that game or just say, yeah, there wasn't really a rookie standout. But with that first game, I at least wanted to put it out there. So, Calvin Ridley surprisingly had 0 catches. Not a great start, but we'll see how time goes on. Matt Ryan gets a little bit more comfortable with him. Another thing was that Dallas Goedert, the other rookie for Philadelphia, the tight end, had only 1 catch, 4 yards, 0 touchdowns. Same thing, they got to get acclimated to the NFL game, and the quarterbacks, whoever is going to be the quarterback for the team, well, at least for Philadelphia, you're looking at that situation where they got to get more comfortable with a guy like him. That's the only time I'm going to name some stats right there where the rookies didn't do anything. So now we're going to really get into some rookie standouts. With the first game that I'm going to talk about is Buffalo versus Baltimore. Now, I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, so I had my keen eye on the players or the rookies for this particular game. I watched the whole game, and the two standouts, the one for Baltimore was Kenny Young. 4 tackles and 1 sack. I saw all of those plays. The dude did more than what the stats say, and that's a disclaimer I want to put out there. Sometimes, I'm not going to get to watch every single game, and I'm going to just be able to try to read the stats. But I would just say this. The stats don't always tell you exactly how good a player may have done. There's situations where a cornerback could literally be tight coverage all game, and the ball's thrown over toward, near where he's at and stuff like that, and he may not get a pass deflection. But he held the guy to only 3 catches and, maybe 20-something yards. But people won't see those type of stats unless you do the Pro Football Focus type of stats. So that's what I want to put out as a disclaimer when it comes to some of these stats. I'm going to just name the stats of the standout players and not, and not just try to go over, like, obviously I'm not going to see every game, so I can't sit there and tell you how good a player may have done without the actual stats. But Kenny Young, I saw all of that, so what I meant to say that with Kenny Young, his cover skills was pretty good in this game, as well as him having those 4 tackles and the 1 sack. The other standout was Buffalo's one of their first round picks, and that was Tremaine Edmonds. Not hugely surprised. Tremaine Edmonds, besides probably a Kyle Williams, their safeties, and the corner Tre'Davious White, who, like all of these guys are kind of veterans, Tremaine Edmonds is the best player on that defense. And if I was just say front 7 period, he's the best player on that defense besides Kyle Williams. Probably get their best linebacker. He has 7 tackles, he had 1 sack, and he had 2 pass deflections. It was legit stuff. It wasn't stuff where it was just kind of like, well, the quarterback threw the ball, behind the player and he was able to knock it down. No, these were actual legit, like, pass deflections. This was a legit sack, and it was legit tackles. He was all over the field doing his thing, but the stats won't show you that he got faked out on a play action play that actually went for a touchdown. So that's the type of insight that I'm saying where you don't get to see everything. You just see the stats and be like, oh, they had a great game. But with me, like I said, I can't watch every single game, so I'm going to just go over the guys that stood out based off of stats. Next game to look at is Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. Denzel Ward from Cleveland had 2 interceptions, which is great for him. And then their linebacker, Gennard Avery, had 1 sack and 1 forced fumble, which is a big plays for him. He didn't have as many tackles. I think he only had about 1 to 2 tackles. So it's one of those things where he didn't have a lot of tackles, but he did have a sack and a forced fumble. That is huge numbers. Pittsburgh didn't have any player that actually stood out, but I do want to give praise to a guy named T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt is the pass rusher linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and last year I believe the Ravens had the number 16th pick. And I wanted the Ravens to actually get T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt ended up dropping to Pittsburgh at number 30. And honestly, I thought T.J. Watt was probably the second or third best pass rusher in this draft. Just point blank, period. Because of his motor, the way he goes, just the length that he has and everything. It just, he has that never give up attitude. And with a guy like T.J. Watt, for him to have those 4 sacks in that game versus Cleveland, I just want to, kudos to T.J. Watt. And I knew that if this continues for the rest of the year, I knew how good this kid was going to be. He is something special. So anyway, next game on the list is Cincinnati versus Indianapolis. Jesse Bates, surprise Jesse Bates. If I say Jesse Bates' name, I would think that, he may have had like 1 or 2 interceptions, surprisingly, something like that. The guy had 0 interceptions, but he had 8 tackles. So I said, that's a need to put his name up there. His team won, which was a good thing. So, maybe I don't know how he actually looked in coverage, but I know he's a solid guy in coverage anyway. But those 8 tackles are something where it's just like, okay, one thing that he needed to improve on as a player is tackling. So with 8 tackles, it says, okay, he's been improving as a tackler for the free safety position. And then on the other side for Indianapolis, Darius Leonard, their second-round pick, had 5 tackles and 1 fumble recovery. I wanted to put him out there because I like Darius Leonard a lot, and I think that he is a really, really good player, and he's going to be able to eventually make a lot more plays as the year goes on. But Darius Leonard with the 5 tackles, 1 forced fumble. I mean, not forced fumble, but fumble recovery. He had some good plays for him during the game versus Cincinnati. Now, going to the next game, Tennessee-Miami, there was no standout, so we got to skip to the next one. Then we have San Francisco and Minnesota. For San Fran, they had both Pettis. I'll forget his name. Well, Pettis, we all know the receiver Pettis, who had 2 catches, 61 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then their linebacker, Fred Warner, had 11 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass deflection. Those stats are really, really good for these rookies, especially in that first game. And the biggest standout definitely is Fred Warner. I wasn't the biggest fan of Fred, and he stood out when I seen those stats of 11 tackles. I'm not sure if anybody else had as many tackles as him. If I gotta look at the actual league leaders in tackles, but that's definitely the highest for the rookies. And Dante Pettis with the 61 yards, 2 catches, and that 1 touchdown. He also had a couple of punt stuff, but it was nothing big. And then for Minnesota, Mike Hughes. We already know Mike Hughes is my guy, my favorite corner. My favorite corner in the draft, Mike Hughes, had 1 interception and 3 tackles. That 1 interception is huge for Mike Hughes. That just shows that, he actually probably should be starting, and he is a better player than his draft pick. He is literally like T.J. Watt in the situation of he got picked with the 30th pick, and I believe that he was a better player than that 30th pick. He shouldn't have been picked that low. Now, to go over some games that I'm going to just quickly go over games that Didn't have any rookie standouts before I get to the rest of the games. Houston, New England didn't really have one. Tampa Bay, New Orleans didn't really have one. Washington, Arizona, no. Dallas and Carolina, no. Chicago, Green Bay, no. And last night's game with the LA Rams and the Oakland Raiders, or Las Vegas Raiders, if you want to say, they neither, none of these teams had an actual rookie standout. Now, to go back into who were rookie standouts, I'm going to skip one game and I'm going to go back to it and talk about it. So we're going to go to KC and Kansas City and the Los Angeles Chargers. Before I get into that, I just want to say the game that I'm skipping is Jacksonville and New York Giants. I'm going to go back into it. So if you're a Giants fan or whatever and you want to know what I say, probably skip ahead probably about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not going to put a little timestamp on when you should skip ahead. But I'll say about at that time, I'll say about 2 minutes. I should get through the rest of the team about 2 or 3 minutes. So just hold on there. With the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers game, Chiefs and the Chargers, the only standout from that game was Derwin James, who had 3 tackles. He had 1 sack and 2 pass deflections. That is really, really good stats for a guy, a strong safety like him. And it's stats that I'm not surprised by. Like I said, it's not that I didn't like Derwin James. Derwin James is a solid player, but Derwin James is who he is. And if you play him right, then he'll be a really, really good player for a team. So he was, looking at those stats, it seemed like he was played in the correct way he should be played. Not a deep safety, but an in-the-box safety. And then we're going to go a little bit down further. We got Seattle versus Denver. Now, this one had probably the most rookie standouts of all of them. For Seattle, Will Dissly, tight end from Washington. I didn't do much, stuff when it came to him, and he kind of surprised people. 3 catches, 105 yards, and 1 touchdown. That is really good stats for a tight end, especially a rookie tight end, because rookie tight ends tend to not really do too much, in that first year. I mean, obviously it's rookie tight end, but tight ends don't do much as a rookie. So this is a huge confidence boost for a guy like a Will Dissly. Another standout is, of course, Shaquem Griffin. I'm sorry. Is it Shaquem or Shaquille? Shaquem Griffin. Oh my God, I got them mixed up. I'm sorry. Shaquem Griffin with 6 tackles. And as, to me, you get over 5 tackles, I'm going to probably put your name down. So with him with 6 tackles, it just, another notch in his book. First game, he had a pretty darn good game. Not too bad. That's pretty good for a guy like Shaquem Griffin, who I think, if he had 2 hands, everybody would have had him as the best linebacker in the draft. But it is what it is. Anyway, and then for Denver Broncos, a little weird thing happened, but, I guess it's a good thing. Royce Freeman and undrafted rookie Philip Lindsay, I forgot where he played at. Was it Wake Forest or something? Oh, Colorado. That's where he played at. Colorado had 15 carries for 71 yards each. They both had 15 carries each, and they both had 71 yards. And they didn't have a touchdown. But they had similar. It's kind of crazy that they have similar stats. The only thing I do want to know is, was it a situation that they were splitting carries? Because I heard it was just supposed to be Royce Freeman, but for both players to have 15 carries in a game where it's so close, or it just ended so close, is a little weird, but it is what it is. Also, Cameron Sutton, I'm going to just, 2 catches, 45 yards. I did it for Dante, who only had 2 catches too. But that 45 yards, good little start for him to try to get better and better. And then Bradley Chubb, 3 tackles and a half a sack. Don't matter if it's a half or whatever. I'm going to put it up there if you have, a stat like that, half a sack. He still got to the quarterback, and he had 3 tackles. So he's just going to try to build on who he is and how he's going to do as a player during his rookie season. Next is the New York Jets versus the Detroit Lions. And the only rookie standout was Sam Darnold. Wasn't the best game, actually. But, 16, he's the only rookie quarterback that's actually starting. But 16 of 21 for 198 yards, not great stats. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. First throw was a pick 6, which is crazy. But it's something that I did expect for him. I do expect actually a pretty good amount of interceptions when it comes to Sam Darnold. Hopefully he doesn't get in like the high teens. Hopefully he stays in probably that mid-teen area. But it's what I expected. It's who he is as a player. So, it's I can't really fault him or anything like that. I'm gonna just see how it goes for here on. And so now, like I said, to skip the 2 or 3 minutes, I went a little bit over, probably about 4 minutes. But now let's go to the one game that I want to talk about, Jacksonville and the New York Giants. Now the only rookie standout from that was Saquon Barkley. And the reason why I want to do this Saquon Barkley situation, because he had 18 carries for 106 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, this is a situation where it's like, okay, that's pretty good stats. So why you want to talk about this? Well, before the 68, I believe it was a 68-yard run or 62-yard, it don't matter. 68-yard, 62-yard run. Not to say it don't matter, but before that, his stats was, I believe, I swear it was like I saw 15 carries. It was like 15, yeah, about 15 carries. 14 carries, 29 yards. That's what I saw before that run. And I'm sitting there like, man, okay, people believe in him. Then I believe he had maybe one other carry, and then he had another carry after that which was a 68 long, run. Now, if you minus 106 minus 68, that's 42 yards. 17 carries, 42 yards. So I looked at that stat, right? And I'm like, okay, that's still not a great stat. It's not great stats at all. That's still just it's under 4 yards per carry. But obviously 18 for 106 is over 5 yards per carry. So, okay. So you got that situation, right? Now, you can do that with any type of running back or player, literally minus the one big long run and just be like, so this is not a bashing of a Saquon Barkley, actually. What I'm doing is that the thing is that I didn't get to watch every game, but I did see a video that showed me every Saquon Barkley catches and runs. And I looked at some of the runs. And I'm going to have to say, most of those runs, right, he was getting hit in the backfield before he could even do anything. So I would give him credit that it seemed like he played a little bit different than what I saw some in college. People, what I saw in college a lot of times was a little tentativeness of lowering the shoulder. And he didn't particularly lower his shoulder in this game, but he didn't run soft. He ran really, really hard. And making the cuts, just trying to, fight for those extra yardage. Like, you just saw a little bit more aggressiveness when it came to him. And I think that, I don't know, maybe he saw him. I wouldn't say that, but it just seemed like he was a little bit more hyped and a little bit more aggressive in this game and what we see. And maybe it had a little bit to do with some trash talk. Jacksonville like to do that. Maybe you have to get him into that mode. Saquon Barkley, maybe you just have to get him into that mode. But I will say that he did not play bad at all. Like I said, I saw every touch. And the times that, he didn't get no yards, he was hitting the backfield before he could even make anything be done. So, he had some good runs before that. And then finally, the 68-yarder, this is something that I do expect, though, when it comes to him. And this is probably what he's going to deal with almost every game, or I would have to say at least 70% of the games of his career, maybe even higher than that, where he has to deal with stuff like that, where he's not going to get as many yardage, and, then he's going to break the long one, and he's going to have over 100 yards in the game, and it's like, oh, he had a great game, and then you got to look at it in all perspective, but I'll have to say he did have a good game. This is only week 1. And so when it comes to all of these rookies, the rookies that did make plays and the rookies that didn't make plays, we have to see the process and how it goes. Also, when it comes down to it, you're not a bust until after your third year. I mean, after your third year, you're not a bust. So anybody that didn't make plays, they're not a bust yet. And I don't. I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, bash anybody saying they're going to be a bust. My thing is, I don't like when guys get hyped too much and it doesn't actually equate to what I see on tape. So that's all I'm going to say. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more of Draft Raw Authentic, and I know this video was long, but I had to do it. But if you want to see more of me, video should be definitely shorter than about, which is going to be about 20 minutes. Please subscribe to the channel. Please comment if you didn't like what I have to say, or if you thought I forgot something. Please comment so we can debate, and please share this video so other people can comment and we can all debate and we can build this huge draft community. Once again, this is Draft Raw Authentic with the Week 1 standouts of the 2018 season. Goodbye.